Hey, welcome here. This is Chris Costanza here with Joey Sargent. We're going through our course, one of the finest courses on the market on how to train new agents to sell Medicare, how to cross-sell into Medicare, Medicare supplements, Medicare Advantage, Medicaid, under 65 eventually. But this course is focused on how do we sell Medicare, Medicare Advantage, Medicare supplements. Now today, Joey Sargent here. He's going to be talking to us about how do we go through the process of looking at each carrier website and how do you get familiar. Remember, 52 different carriers. We got every option on the market, but we're going to focus on the top 5 or 10 because that's where those are the most competitive carriers, okay? Now, I'm recommending when you first get started, have one of these binders. Have the front office, have the admin team put together one of these binders because this is like a menu, okay? Now, we don't have inside of this menu, Joe, right, what you're about to describe. That's right. He has this on his computer because that's where all the applications are. Right. Okay. This is a list of all my scripts, all my processes, all that stuff, right? Yep. So Joe, take us through our top 5 to 10 carriers. Let me just tell you what I've seen in our agency block system. I've seen Aetna. I've seen Humana. I've seen Manhattan Life. I've seen AARP. I've seen, I think that's United as well. So take us through those top 4, maybe Pekin, Lumico, right? Take us through those top 6 maybe and say, hey, how do I get comfortable? I want to be comfortable with the fact that now I'm not just running an auto quote through Farmers, but I'm running a Medicare quote. Now that I've been through the tools portal, I'm able to pull up the one that I think is the best possible fit and the client's the most comfortable with, right? So if I'm 65, you know what? I'm comfortable with Aetna, maybe more than I'm comfortable with Pekin. And maybe I'll pay $2 more a month because I've heard the name Aetna a million times and I've never heard Pekin.
It's a real thing.
Or maybe I'm a price shopper and I'm comfortable with Lumico and Pekin, but I don't care about AARP and United, right? Because, you know, what's important to me is value, right? So, or price. In that scenario, it'll be price, right? Give me the lowest possible price. I don't care what it is, right?
Right.
So you have to understand that. You can't just put somebody in Pekin when they're used to Bankers Life and saving them $40 a month and think that's going to work. You know, sometimes they think, hey, Bankers Life has that magic juju, you know? So you have to say, hey, if they're a brand person, put them in Aetna, Humana, right? The big companies that people have heard about, United Health, okay? Yeah. So Joe, take us through these top 6 and walk us through the process of how do I fill out an application because, oh my God, I'm just trying to make sure they're interested. Now that I've got them interested, now that I've got them wanting to buy from me, oh gosh, I don't want to lose them in the middle of not knowing how to type a few pieces of information into a computer system.
Right. And this is a real deal. There's an individual that I know of that, Chris, you also know of, who he was in the middle of a sale. In the middle of a sale, he was getting everything done. The price looked good. The policy looked good. But because he didn't know his tools very well, he took so long that the client literally says to him over the phone, I would buy from you, but you're taking too long. Click, and hangs up. And so this is something you got to know your tools. You got to know your skills. So we're going to start with Aetna. Aetna is my personal favorite. I like the name. I like the company. I like kind of what they stand for as far as I know. And they're a very simple process. You go to aetnaseniorproducts.com. There's a link for that in the sheet. When you type that in, when you go there, it's going to bring up your login page. You use the login and the password, just like you're going to do for every internet account.
And make sure you have your toolkit ready. Your toolkit's the quarter tool and the Google Sheet with all the login information that Joe's talking about.
You need to be able to access anything at any time.
You can't go to work without your toolkit.
It's true. It's true. Very true. And so when you're looking at that, you go to Aetna. After you log in, right? All the logins are going to be listed there. So don't worry about that. You don't have to ask me for it. You don't have to ask Devin. You don't have to ask Chris. You know, just type it in and go. Aetna is going to have a bunch of rectangle buttons. Okay, you're going to see a picture at the top with like a grandmother with her grandson. Okay, then you got a bunch of buttons. The button you're going to click is the one on the far left on the top. Okay, that's the button that's going to take you to the screen where you can see all the Aetna products. Okay, at that screen, you're going to type in their date of birth. You're going to type in their age will automatically come up. You're going to type in their zip code. You're going to type in their phone number, male or female, smoker, non-smoker, right? The basic stuff that you're putting on the quoting tool. And this is going to be the same for pretty much every application. Once you fill out that information, you scroll down a little bit, you click on the product that you want, right? Click on Medicare supplements. That's usually the top item. Then within that, they're going to ask for the effective date for your Medicare. You type that in, you click quote. It'll show you all the different Medicare supplement plans. It'll show you A, B, C, F, G, high deductible F, high deductible G, a lot of things. Just look for G. Just look for G. Click on G, it'll show the price. That's what you go through with. Then click.
What if like the 10% of the time you sell Plan N?
Plan N is very similar, and we'll go into that. Plan N is not a problem at all. I've sold a few of them as well. When you need to,
we'll have a video on that. Yeah.
Exactly, it's great. So that's always an option, but it'll be in that same list there for you. So you're going to do quote, then you're going to do add to cart, and then you're going to do start enrollment. Then it'll take you to a screen where you just fill out the questions.
Now, how long is the enrollment questionnaire?
Maybe 5-7 minutes.
5 to 7 minutes to get the basic information in there. Now, what are the things that kind of trip you up in that application enrollment?
That's a good question. There can be health questions that trip me up. There can be prescription questions that trip me
You
up.
ever run into a situation where you're like, oh, this person has heart disease, I need to change carriers? Maybe you don't, Joe, because maybe the quote sheet has already told you that and you've learned to line them up in the right carrier.
Do it right on the front end. You won't have to backpedal on the back end. I have had a few situations where that comes up, though, where we fill out the quote sheet. No, I haven't had any issues with my heart in the last few years. And I start going through the questions with them. And I get to the section where I'm like, have you been advised or taken medication for, any heart valve disorder or a stent placement? Oh, yeah, well, I had a stent placement. But they put a stent in, last year. And I'm thinking to myself, why did this not come up in the first place? And so I go, okay, no problem, not a problem at all, as I begin to sweat bullets and go back to my quoting tool where I'm looking for AARP because they don't ask questions like that. So I go to AARP.
So remember that AARP, it's kind of like we're going to fit anybody and everybody in the door here.
As long as they're members. If they're a member of AARP, AARP's like, you know what, we'll just ask a few underwriting questions to make sure you're not on death row. And then anybody within that can get in. But sometimes they charge a lot more. So be aware, we'll have a video on that also. But
we personally, as an agency, don't necessarily push people there unless that's the only thing that we can put them in, right?
Yep.
It's not something that we'd recommend go as you go to.
Right. Now, there's a beautiful thing in Missouri called an anniversary rule we'll talk about as well.
Oh, yeah, let's talk about that here. So you've taken us through Aetna. Take us through some of the smaller carriers. Pekin, Lumico.
Yeah.
We've never heard of this before today.
Right.
Right? How do you get into Pekin's website?
Well, speaking of Pekin, you always want to let your client know. There's this amazing company. They've been around a long time. They're called Pekin. You probably haven't heard of them. And then you want to say the reason for that is because they put more money into their shareholders and their clients than they do into advertising. That makes people pretty happy.
Wow.
So then you go to the Pekin website, right? And you're going to have a very similar situation with Aetna, but the buttons are all rearranged. You got 4 in the middle. One of those is quote med subs. Click on that button. That button is going to take you to a screen where you can do start new application or continue a current case. 2 big blue buttons at the top. Now this, if you run a life insurance application through Farmers, it uses the exact same website as the life insurance application.
And Joe, you're going to share with everybody a Google sheet that has all the login information.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's very simple.
So I click the sheet, I click the Pekin link the sheet.
Yep.
The Pekin link then pops up the Pekin website.
That's correct.
I then click the quoting tool on Pekin.
All right. After you log in.
After I've logged in. Right now, the login is on the Google Sheet as well.
That's correct.
Login and password, right? Okay, now, is Lumico the same way as Pekin?
Lumico is very similar to Pekin. You click on the link, it goes to Lumico, you put in the username and password, it logs in. Now, Lumico's got a very blank quoting page, okay? So when you're on this quoting page, it almost looks like there's no buttons, there's just text. Look on the right-hand side of the screen, right? On the right-hand side of the screen, there's a little place where it says in small text, start new application, and it's got a little airplane or something like that by it. That's where you're gonna go in and start your application.
Perfect. Now tell me a little bit about Humana.
Humana is actually one of my favorite quoting systems. It's very easy. You go to humana.com. You click sign in, you type in the username and password, click sign in, and it gives you 3 different columns.
Now again, the login and password will be on the one master sheet.
Everything is on that sheet. You don't need to come to me to ask for a username or password. You can just look right on that one sheet right there, and it'll be there for you every time. Okay, so don't delete any of that information or we can sue you. Okay, so you got I'm just kidding. You got the 3 different columns. In the middle column, at the top, is a button that says Start New Application.
Very simple.
Click on it, you type in their, it'll take you to another page, you put in their zip code, you put in what type of plan you're looking for, and then it shows you a list of them. You grab the one you want, you do Start Enrollment, and you ask the questions.
Now, do any of these care websites have anything kind of tricky? Kind of like, you know, I got on the website and I was looking to go somewhere, looking to fill something out, and I get tricked.
Yes, actually there's 2 of them.
For those of us born pre-1990, we need to know about these tricks before we get into them. We're very concerned.
It's fair.
You know.
Yeah, exactly. It can be confusing for sure. Every website has their own system. I don't know why they're all so different, but they are.
For those of us born between 80 and 90, it's a unique gem. Where we're somewhat familiar, but we're somewhat suspicious of what's going on. Okay, it's like, I'm in the care website. It's not working the way I want. Okay.
What are we gonna do?
Yeah.
What are we gonna
The
do?
nostalgia of the old days, the appreciation of the new days. What do we do?
It's a unique combination. So the 2 companies that are the most complicated. Number 1, I already mentioned, one is Lumico. The reason Lumico is kind of trippy is because, like I said, it's not clear where to click. It's just a blank looking page with some text on it. And so you always want to be looking on that right-hand side for that Start New Application button. Okay, that's the only thing you need to know about there. Here's the thing though, the other one, AARP, United Healthcare. That one is complicated. I don't know why, but it is. But we've made it simple for you. We've got the login page on the master sheet.
Right.
It goes to jarvis.uhcquotingsomething.com. It's a big, long, complicated
Now,
website.
AARP is United.
AARP owns United.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So AARP is the company that runs policies through United Healthcare, UHC. Okay, United Healthcare.
And the AARP is simply the Association of American Retired People.
Right. It's a
bunch of
community.
retired people associated.
It's a community. And hey, an AARP membership is like $17 a year, so a lot of seniors have it. Gives you discounts at different places, travel help, etc.
Now we're gonna go in the next video, but before we do, Joey's gonna give you a little homework. Okay? Before you're sitting down talking with the prospect, before you got an interested buyer, right? Before you got a qualified buyer on the line, before you got that fish on the hook, right? What I want you to do, how many of you guys know that you always want to know what you do before you get in the game, right? Practice, as Joey says, makes permanent. It doesn't necessarily make you perfect. So what I want you to do, Joey and I were talking about this, we want you to go on each of these main 6 carrier websites. And I want you to go run 5 applications. These are pretend applications. Don't submit anything. Do not submit. At the end, don't click submit. Okay? There's a few things in life that we don't want to submit. Okay?
Jail. You go to jail.
Right? But go through and run. Yeah, use a fake imagination. We used to use in the early 90s John Doe. Okay? D-O-E. Okay? Or Jane Doe if you want to do a female. Okay? I want you to go into each of these websites, each of these carriers. You click on the links, go on the quoting tools, run the quote, and practice running 5 times a quote and application on each of these 6. So 30 different quotes. Typically on the P&C side, we teach people, hey, go run 100 quotes before you're ready to get the game. Because you need to know about the bugs. You need to know about what's going to happen. You need to get game ready. You need to be ready to take incoming fire and not act like it's the first time it's happened.
It's true.
You know what I mean? You got to know how to plan by your dress. If it's your first time to quote, right, when you're on the phone trying to make the sale, 90% chance you won't make the sale.
It's like trying to shoot a basketball when you ain't never shot before.
Right. But if you've run the quote, right, and you've run the game plan, and you've studied this, and you've input the application 5 times on the 6 different main carriers, and you're familiarized with the quoting tool, and you've got the handy-dandy notebook, right? If you've done that, and you know the script, and you're walking through the script, it's a 90% chance of closing is where Joe's at. Okay, now we've got months and months and months of data that once you get that scenario, it's a 90% closure rate. Now listen, anything in the market that's 90% closure ratio, that's where you want to put all your money. That's where you want to put your time. But again.
So put your time in it.
Right, but again, If Joe wasn't familiar and he was bebopping around, he'd have a 10% closing ratio, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So those that do their homework, those that do their practice, right? Joe was a classical pianist, okay? A pianist. He was a classical pianist, and did you have to practice when you were growing up?
I love to practice. I was practicing 30 to 180 minutes a day.
100 to what?
30 to 180 minutes a day.
Okay. Did you consider yourself a pianist growing up?
Oh, that was my identity. That was everything I did.
It's like the movie The Pianist. Okay, I want to you have to say it very clearly. I don't want to pianist. Okay.
You got to make sure the "and" in there.
So it was a movie that we watched a couple years ago, but reminded me of Joe.
I haven't seen it.
Well, you have to practice 100 minutes a day to make it perfect.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Well, here's the thing: is you have to practice the right stuff too. So when you're going in there, one of the things that you're also going to want to get familiar with is that list of medical questions. There's a lot of strange names and diseases and all that. Get very comfortable with just running through that, speaking through that, getting through that as quick as possible.
And once you've done, here's the beautiful thing: to play the piano well, it's 100 minutes probably for years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The good thing about this industry is that you could do 100 minutes for 5 days and be an expert on these carrier websites.
It's
okay?
true.
And then you go role play 100 minutes a night the right way. Again, practice makes permanent. So make sure you're practicing correctly.
Yep.
Okay, we'll do a video on how to make sure you sell this with the right inflection point, the right cadence, the right tone, the right authority. Because when you're dealing with seniors, remember, they're older and wiser than maybe they were when they were 30 years ago, right? Mm-hmm. They're older and wiser. So they sniff out amateurs, and they will only do business with their health with experts.
True. Okay,
it's a guaranteed fact. If they have a sniff or a perception that you're not an expert, say la vie. Mm-hmm. Right? Say goodbye. Okay. We're gonna go in on the next video. We're gonna go in on the very next video where we're gonna discuss how to now that you know about the applications, now that you know the quarters, how do you position somebody? How do you give them enough value where they're like, hey, I want you to be my broker. I want you. Now, Joe has a very high ratio of his clients being farmers' clients as well, right? Mm-hmm. Where they switch into farmers with them. They don't just give them as the Medicare Advantage, Medicare supplement. They give them also the home and the auto. They give them a lot of times the life policies, okay? And so we're doubling the value of the book of business. We're doubling the value of the brokerage. We're putting a lot of energy into this because we want you to make more money.
Yeah.
Right? There's no secret about it, right? Mm-hmm. We get to be in an industry. We get to be in an industry where the more people you help, the more money you make.
Yep.
Okay? Isn't that phenomenal? Like, isn't that phenomenal? That there's no cap. There's no, like, somebody hold me down. There's no, it's all up to my own skill. It's all about, hey, like old coach says, I don't believe you need more money. I believe you need more people. Right? Everybody's looking for more money. That's the way people that aren't thinking straight. Hey, what you need is to help more people. You need a more refined skill so you can help more people, right? Mm-hmm. Who helps more people? The doctor or the nurse, right? The doctor has a more refined skill set. Not to knock nursing. You need nurses. But who helps more people, right? You understand what I'm saying?
Yep.
The guy that can, right? The guy that can design and build a home, right? Or the guy that only knows how to paint a home. Right? Both of them are valuable people in our industry.
Right.
But the guy that knows how to build and design an entire home has more skill set, more value than the guy that just knows how to lay carpet, right? So my point is this. Develop your skills. Develop your tool set. Develop a familiarity with your tool set, right? Develop a familiarity with your skill set, and you will double your income. Mm-hmm. Okay? We're going to go into that in the very next video. How do you transition? How do we get people that once we got them to buy a home and auto from us, how do we transition them into a Medicare plan where they like us, they know us, they trust us? Because I believe people do business with those people that they think alike, right? They think the exact same way as us, right? And so we're coming to them and saying, hey, I want to create value for you.
Yeah.
I want you to have all your policies in one place where you can trust us, like us, and know us.
Yep.
We're doing everything we can to make us not just automate relationship, but to build relationship, right? We're investing a lot into that in the next several years to come. So we're going to get into that in the very next video. Stay tuned.